What's going on, everybody? Welcome to the Taurean Reloaded channel. If you are new, please be sure to go ahead and hit that subscribe button, click that bell, and have your notifications set to all so you can be notified every time I upload a new video or go live. Also, be sure to like, comment, and share this video on your various social media platforms. So, this was a video I wasn't actually planning on making. Even when people ask me, would I make a Triple P video about it? And I said, to be honest, I wasn't really going in on Justin Bieber like that. That's why I said I let Harvey have his fun with that one, because we all know how much Harvey does not like Justin Bieber. If you've been following Harvey over the years, he probably goes in on Justin Bieber probably at least once every quarter. Probably a few times every quarter, but it is what it is. But before I get into the reason why I'm making this video, that was my disclaimer. This is not a Triple P. It's not. So don't look for the violins or anything like that over here. But I just wanted to point something out. But before I get into that, let me just say, Justin Bieber came out recently, and I'm recording this video on June 11, 2022. He came out on June 10th, 2022, and announced that he was diagnosed with something called Ramsay-Hunt syndrome. Now, I've never heard of that before, but it's apparently some kind of neurological disorder that basically, in his case, it made half of his face paralyzed. I'm sure if y'all saw the video, this is actually a screenshot from the video. In the screen, it's your right side, but for him, it would be his left side. The left side of his face is paralyzed. And if you look at the video that he did, when he blinked, his left eye was droopy. Like, it blinked. It's almost like, I don't know how I could actually describe it, but it was just real droopy. You know how you had them old dolls back in the day, the ones that blinked, and when you open the eyes and sometimes it will open up slowly? That's how his eye looked. So basically, he's paralyzed on the left side of his face. And that would pretty much explain, because where I work at, there was supposed to be a concert that he was having where I work, but that concert ended up being postponed / canceled. Now, looking back at it, I see why. It was because of this, so there it is right there. So of course, that's probably going to be put a hindrance on his career. But I'm not going to go into the whole reading of the articles. I just wanted to, bring that up, because that's the starting point, the launch pad of what I'm talking about. But what I wanted to discuss was how his little fan base are getting upset at black people, because when a lot of black people found out about this, they did not receive the news or take the news like many of his fans did. Like, a lot of his fans, were reacted in a more sad manner, or, in a more condolences type of way. But a lot of black people remembered that video from all those years ago. I think it was back in 2009. It was right around the time when Justin Bieber first came onto the scene, when he had did that video where he was singing that song, and he said the N-word, and he sang it with a smile on his face. And the video was out there. It's floating around. They tried to bury it as much as they possibly could, but this is the internet. Once it's out on the internet for public consumption, it's out there forever. It is what it is. And it was on, I believe, TMZ was the one that had it. So, Harvey Levin and company over there were trying to bury that thing as far and as deep as they possibly could. They kept trying to give Justin Bieber cover and all kinds of stuff like that. Really, personally, I never understood the Justin Bieber hype, even back when he first came onto the scene. I never, got it, but, it is what it is. And they kept trying to push. He was another one of them people they tried to push on the black people, much like Jack Harlow. But, black people made that video resurface, so they posted it up again, attaching it to this video, and you had his fans coming out and saying, that was so long ago and he's apologized for it since then. How disrespectful of you to post something like that when he's clearly going through something. Well, clearly, black people don't care. And I don't care how many times he's apologized. I don't care if he looked to the sky and apologized to the being up there, or if he went to the Vatican and apologized to the Pope. At the end of the day, he sang a song about killing black people. He's saying that. We're not going to just ignore that. We don't even care how old he was when he did it. He was old enough to know what he was singing in that song. So when they ask, do a lot of us feel bad for him? I'll give you this one without sounding so blunt. Don't even look my way and ask me how I feel about it, because you already know what I'm gonna say. Those of you who follow me for a while already know. And like Harvey has said in his videos in the past, or well, more recently, I should say, when it came to Justin Bieber, maybe this is his karma. You know, karma has a way of sneaking up on you. It may not happen immediately, and you don't even know in which form it's going to come. I often say karma may not even always happen to you specifically. It can happen to people around you. And you want to know what's so interesting? Guess who Justin Bieber is married to, just in case y'all did not know. He's married to Hailey Baldwin. Last name ring a bell? I believe Hailey Baldwin, if I'm not mistaken, and someone can correct me if I'm wrong, is the granddaughter to Alec Baldwin. Yes, that Alec Baldwin who feels the need to want to jump into black people's business and talk his shit while he has a whole body under his belt. A real one, not one that died in a movie. So, you know, I'm going to just leave Justin Bieber to his own devices. I'm sure his team will find a way to, you know, help him out. I don't know if this is a thing that can be cured or not. I believe when I was reading up a little bit on it, I believe they said this is a genetic trait. So this is something that must be passed down through his family lineage. This is not just something he just kind of caught like it was contagious. It was something that I believe was genetic. So somewhere, I don't know if it came on his dad's side or his mom's side, but it came from one of them branches in that tree. And here it is. I don't know if this is going to be permanent or not, but it is what it is. And that's my take on it. But one last thing, because I almost left this out of my original point because I started to veer off. Whenever something happens with black people and they're killed unjustly, say by these race soldiers or anybody else, what do? They reach into the past of the black person to villainize them and victimize the person that should be the villain. Trayvon Martin is a perfect example of that. When George Zimmerman, or as I call him, George Killerman, did what he did to Trayvon Martin, what did they do? They made George Killerman the victim. Even though this man's past was so shaky and shady that it amazes you that he wasn't locked up before. But what did they do with Trayvon Martin? Oh, he smoked weed. He was suspended. He posted up pictures on his social media accounts, flipping the bird and, doing teenage shit. The typical things teenagers did. What was George Zimmerman doing? Hitting people, abusing people, like fighting women. But somehow, some way, him doing all that plus killing a teenager was enough to find him not guilty. Or, with Tamir Rice, 12 years old, killed him, assumed he was 18. And since they couldn't really dig into the past about him being, that young, they started to attack his mother. Oh, but the mother load would have to be George Floyd. Do I have to go deep dive into George Floyd or Breonna Taylor or Ahmaud Arbery? Are you sensing a pattern here? Whenever a black person is killed unjustly, they will find a way to dig into their past to justify why what happened, even though there's no connection whatsoever. Sorry about that. I had a call that came in. But yeah, they tend to do that a lot. So sorry or not sorry if people are bringing up that video about Justin Bieber, even in his time of grievance, or not so much grievance, but his time of, I can say, untimely health start decline or whatever you want to call it. And they're bringing this up. How do you think we feel when they do that to us? At least he's still alive. The people that I brought up, unfortunately, will never take another breath. And it's crazy because George Floyd, whenever they can bring him up, he's still villainized, even in death. That's the scary part. These people have been dead for over 2 years or more, and they still find a way to villainize them, even in death, because of the whole big bad black boogeyman trope that has been plastered all over the media for eons. When it comes to black people, it doesn't matter if they're a man, woman, boy, girl, no matter if they're old or young, same rules apply. I think one of the craziest ones was the whole thing with Harambe, you know, the gorilla, when the boy fell over into the gorilla pit and got dragged across the pool or that water, and they shot and killed the gorilla to get the boy, and they got so mad that they killed the gorilla. They probably would have preferred that that gorilla killed the boy. So what did they do? Instead, they found a way to attack the father of the boy, who wasn't, he, by the way, was at work and wasn't even there. What did they do? Reach back 10 years into his past to bring up his criminal record and him being locked up. See what I mean? Another example. But I think one of my main examples that I would like to use in this, and this has nothing to do with anybody like the ones I mentioned, but I wanted to bring up an example of someone who really got affected by their past, literally continues to bite them in the ass, and that's Chris Brown. If you remember, well, I don't have to ask if you remember, because most of y'all watching me are of age and remember when, you know, the whole thing with him and Rihanna happened back in 2008. And this is right at the time when Chris Brown was on top of the world. Like, Chris Brown was heavily sought after. Like, he was really coming into his own. All of that came crashing down one night in a car with Rihanna after, what was it, the Grammys, I believe it was, or a Grammy party or whatever the case may be, and all that came crashing down. And then what do you know? Lo and behold, Justin Bieber just kind of popped up, and then here he was, and they were trying to push Chris Brown out of the side to the side and shoehorn Justin Bieber in there. Now, the reason why I bring Chris Brown up is because, of course, they continue to bring up Rihanna to this day, and then whenever Chris Brown gets into an incident, which as of late or as of recently, he's been pretty much keeping his head in a nice clear space. And I think it has to do with the fact that he's a father now. I think he has 2 children. So he's completely toned and calmed down from the Chris Brown of a few years ago before he became a dad. So now he's in a space where he, I guess, in a way has matured. So that's really good for him. But even with all of that, they still will try to bring this up. I'm telling you, when Chris Brown, you know, hopefully well into the distant future, when he passes on, they're going to continuously bring that up. They're going to always bring that up. They're going to always make sure that is going to be a stain on him. Now, and when it comes, it's almost like they pretty much wanted to ruin him. They wanted his career to be done right when it was getting started. He was only like about 3 years into his career, because it started in 05. The whole thing happened in 08. So yeah, they were trying to get him up out of there. And it's amazing that he's even still here, because anyone else who didn't have the right mental capacity to keep fighting would have probably committed suicide. I'm going to be completely honest. They put him through hell for those last couple of years, those few years, you know, following that incident. That should have ruined him, but he's still here, and he's still pushing forward. Justin Bieber, on the other hand, they found a way to give him cover because he was a quote unquote kid, and they did not want that to ruin his career, to be ruined literally as soon as it began. That would have been self-sabotage. I'm just saying. Pot, meet kettle. And that's my take on it.